Want to see how a brand is created? Well, in this series, I'm taking you behind the scenes as I create a brand completely from scratch. And in today's video, I'm going to start working on the website. Basically, it's all about setting up shop. Now, before we dive in, I wanted to share with you, I finally got the tape that I was waiting on. I didn't get it in time for the last video, but it arrived 2 days later, so I can share it with you now. So this tape is basically a paper tape where you have to wet the back, and it came with a sponge and instructions on how to use it. So basically you just wet the sponge that they give you and you wet the back. You can get special wetting tape dispensers, but as I'm just getting started, I'm just going to start with the sponge, and then if things grow and that's too tedious, I'll look at getting one of these special dispensers, but we'll just start off that way. And the tape is quite wide. For some reason I thought it'd be just a little bit thinner than that, but the width is actually quite good. It looks quite good on the box, so I'll show you how that looks. So this is it on the box. It's just, I put it around the side like I showed you in the mock-up I created. It looks really nice. It just adds that little branding element to the box. So when it's on somebody's doorstep, they'll see that and they'll instantly know, oh, my package has arrived, and it sort of creates that excitement when they see it. And it just adds that nice branding to the box without having to create a full-on custom box. Now onto the website. So the first thing I did when it came to the website and setting up shop is deciding what platform to use. Now with any kind of website for your business, you need to first think about the platform. And of course, secure that domain name. That sort of goes without saying. You want to make sure that you get that domain name and it's all yours. Now, I've always been buying my domain names through GoDaddy. I've been doing that for a very long time, well over a decade. I've been using them for domain names, so I've never had an issue with them. So if you're unsure where to go, that's the place that I like to get my domain names from, but there's plenty of other options out there. That's just what I've always used. So when it comes to the platform, now a lot of people will harp on about that a particular platform is the best platform. You shouldn't use anything else. This one does everything you ever wanted, and they'll push and push their platform. But I've always been of the opinion that you need to make a decision based on your own needs, because every platform meets different needs. That's why there's so many different things out there. There's things like WordPress, Squarespace, Shopify, and Wix. There's just all these different platforms that you can choose from. So when you're trying to decide how you're going to set up your little online world, it can feel overwhelming to think, well, how do I know which one's best for me? So you start out by writing what you're going to need. So that includes the features you need and also what you need in terms of what's going to be easy for you. So do you want a platform where you can easily design it and create it all yourself? Or do you want a platform that has more features and you're happy to outsource someone else to code that and put that together for you? So it really depends on what you're looking for and what's important to you when it comes to a platform. Now with this particular brand, my requirements was that I want to set up a shop. So the shop needs to be really robust. I need something that has an easy cart system and is not going to be a nightmare to create a shop on it. So I want something that's really shop focused, something that's a dedicated e-commerce platform. So when it comes to that, a lot of people will think of Shopify. Now Shopify is amazing and it does a lot of great things, and I was considering it, but I've never worked with Shopify before, and it is a little bit pricey for a brand new brand where we don't know how things are going to go, and so it's a bit of an investment just for getting started. And also to me, it's a time investment to try and learn the platform and figure it out. And so I decided to go with Big Cartel. Now, if you haven't heard of Big Cartel before, it's quite similar to Shopify, and you can set up a shop and you're able to customize the code, make it look how you want, but it's a lot cheaper to set up. And also I have used Big Cartel before. I've actually done clients' shops and designed their shops for them on Big Cartel. So it's a platform that's familiar to me. I've set up my own shops on it and set up shops for other people. So I know how to use it. Because it's familiar, it means that I'll be able to do it quickly quickly. And also because it's cheaper than Shopify, it makes it a great entry point to just get started, get that shop up there. And then as I go along, if I find that I outgrow it and find that I need features that just aren't available there, then I can look at other platforms like Shopify. But I think this is the platform that's going to be right for just getting started. Now you might be wondering why I've decided to set up my own platform and not use an existing platform such as things like Etsy or eBay or anything else where I could sell on somebody else's site. Now the reason I've decided to do this is because I want my brand not to feel too handmade, hobby, craftsy. I want a brand that really feels like a solid brand, and so to do that it really needs its own home base. I also love to fully customize and make it my own and not be, bound by the restrictions of another platform. So that's basically my decision making behind how I'm setting up my shop. So now let's look at what we do now that we've got a platform and we've got our domain. So the first thing we need to do when it comes to setting up a shop and deciding what we're going to do with our website is planning out what needs to be included. So basically we're going to start working out what pages need to be on there, what features we need, then what content are we going to need to source and put together so that we can bring it all together. Start planning it out. So I started off by just writing out, these are the pages I want to include. So, I want a home shop page, I want the individual product page, I want a contact page, an about page, all the legal pages, and basically I just plotted out exactly what I'm going to need and then start thinking about the content that's going to go in that. So when it comes to content and design, it's sort of a bit of a to and fro. You don't just full on create all the content, all the imagery and text and then design it. And you don't just design it and then create all the content and put it in. You sort of need to go back and forth and figure it out together. I know that can be a bit confusing, but I find that this is the best method if you want the best results. So basically what I started doing was writing some of the basic copy. I just wrote out things like, the main headlines and some of the little snippets of copy that I want on the site. I didn't straight away go into big detail about writing my about page and all those sort of things. I just started with that snippet content. And then I went back to Big Cartel and started looking at what themes they have to figure out what kind of visual content I would need to be creating. So I found a base theme that I quite liked, and I noticed that it had the big banner header. That was something that I really wanted to use. And so then I needed to go and create the content for that. So I needed to create an image, get a photo that I could put in that, and also find the best snippet of text that could then go in there too. So I worked on that, put that together, and then designed that element of it. And then rather than going into Illustrator and designing this full-on website and then coding it into Big Cartel, I've also gone back and forth on that as well. So the reason I'm doing that is because I want to be sure that whatever I'm designing is actually going to be able to be done in Big Cartel, because you can custom code the site, but there's some limitations, and also I don't want it to be too complicated or make it this crazy coding adventure, because I'm not a huge web developer. I know code, but I'm not developer level code. So I want to try and keep it that it's similar to the structure of that base theme with just some customized elements to it. What I'm doing is just testing things out, putting some of my colors in, starting to put some elements in. So then I screenshotted it, said, okay, this is how it can start to look, took it into Illustrator, and then started adding more to it. Started adding more customization, working on the design, getting the design just right, and then going back to Big Cartel and coding that design in. And as I'm going, I'm creating extra content. So as I'm going along and I've got that base theme really nice and the home page is starting to come together, then I'm writing out the about page, designing that about page, and then going back into Big Cartel and coding that up and putting it together. So it's not really so much of a process of you do this, then you do this, then you do this. There's a lot of coming back and forth, going here, then going back there. And I know it can seem a little bit messy, but I find that's sort of the best way to make sure that everything goes together, that you don't create something and then go, oh, that's not working. Instead, you can sort of test things out as you go, see what's working, see what you need, and make adjustments as you go. So this is what we've got so far for the website. So I've set up the basic overall layout. I've got the home page pretty much done. There's just a few links in that need to be added. I've put in just a few products just to see how it's going to look, and we'll add more products later. I haven't written any product listings or anything like that. I just wanted to insert the images and put the names up just to get an idea of how it's actually going to look. And then I've done the about page and the contact page. We still have to add a few more pages and also those legal pages, but I've got the basic things down pat, so we've got a really strong structure there, so then I can start adding in more content and adding those extra pages and those extra products. Now, in terms of thinking about branding when it comes to this website, when it comes to creating any element of your brand, you need to go back to those brand foundations and think about how it's translating into what you're designing. So for the website, I'm thinking about, well, how did I want my customer to feel when they land on the website? What kind of things do I want to be emphasizing? So, you know, I'm going back to those brand foundations. I wanted people to feel good. I wanted to create this feeling of joy and confidence and happiness. And so I'm trying to put all that into the way I design this site. So I'm making sure that the copy and the imagery is all sort of having this feeling of joy and confidence and a bit of playfulness, and it feels very feminine. And so I'm going back to those things. And then I'm making sure that, you know, it's going to be a good experience for the customer, that as they go through this site, they feel good, and it's not going to have this feeling of, this is so annoying. You know, I'm not going to overdo the design where it gets irritating and they can't find what they want. I want to keep it really nice and clean and make it really easy for the customer and make it a fun and joyful experience. And then I'm adding some playfulness and fun into it, adding some of my patterns so it feels rather fun and playful. And I also added the little scrunchy illustration graphic down the bottom, another little fun thing, just these little fun, little playful things, so it's not too much of a boring website, but there's these little surprises along the way that makes it, you know, fun and playful and just adds to that experience. And then the product photos too, I didn't want them to be too plain and boring where it's a plain picture of the product on a white background. I want to sort of, you know, capture that joy and that feeling of playfulness and fun in it as well, and confidence. So I'm modeling it so that there's this feeling of fun and confidence, so they see that and they can sort of picture themselves and think, you know, that's how it's going to make me feel when I buy that. So next week we're going to dive a bit more into that. We're going to dive more into creating the photos and creating more content to finish off this website. But the key things that I want you to take away from this is, when you choose a platform for setting up a website, make sure you consider your needs and what is important for you. And also make sure that when you design a site that you're considering those brand foundations, that you make sure that it aligns with your brand values, the story and the feeling of your brand. So always go back to those things and make sure they come through in whatever you design. So I hope you enjoyed watching this and seeing how the shop is starting to unfold. And don't forget to watch next week as we finish off this site, because then we'll be able to start moving into the world of marketing. So if you want to keep watching this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos, and I will see you next time.